What is up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day, maybe a good lunch break. Today we're on Moxfield, and I saw this particular commander be requested like over and over again on a recent CGB video. He did this for Constructed. He did a 60 card standard deck, and I said, hey, I got the time, and I've kind of familiarized myself with this card and maybe some of the combos that are available in standard, and I wanted to put my take on it. I wanted to reveal to you the spiciness that I've seen in these colors, what you can do with tokens, what is the sweetest and craziest things you can do with this particular commander. So I would say this is the most requested homie, Shiku, Paragon of the Way. I think you're just going to love this particular kind of take on it. So what does Shiku do? 2 generic, 1 island, 1 mountain, 1 plains. Legendary creature, Spirit Dragon, Flying Vigilance. When Shiku enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from a graveyard. So we gotta definitely put stuff in our graveyard, and the criteria would be 3 mana or less. You'll be able to exile that spell, you copy it, and then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. A copy of a permanent spell also becomes a token. So kind of like that's probably like the really interesting portion about it, I would say. In addition, it's probably should be known that when you are casting a spell, it does usually trigger off other cards that you might have. In addition, your opponents can't interact with those casted spells. They can counter them still. So it does have to do with that. Like, there's still ways to interact with those spells. So just be aware of that. Now, what kind of plays into this? What kind of combos can we see when, for instance, a permanent spell becomes a token? So let's see what goes on here. And basically, a token is typically how we see tokens is we see them, for instance, like in a card like Wedding Announcement. And what will happen is that they don't have like a card like designation. For instance, if you have a token and you have an effect that says like exile this particular thing and then return it to the battlefield, that thing has like no status or foundation to like return itself onto the battlefield. It will leave the battlefield and will simply not return. So when you see like spells, for instance, or cards that have triggers, and it says like return target permanent to their owner's hand, if it's a token and that's what is the effect is done to it, it simply just disappears. It has no base. It's not a card itself. So tokens are not cards. So that's kind of an interesting kind of portion about being a token. So let's get to our spicy, because this is like kind of like what kind of drives the deck and makes you do like really strong things. So imagine we have 3 blind mice. We resolve it. We get through all its chapters, or we simply just have it put into our graveyard from some other fashion, and then we bring it back with Shiku. Shiku's going to bring it back as a token, so remember, it's not a card anymore. Okay, so on chapter 1, we're going to create that mouse creature token. That's fine. Now on chapter 2, you're going to create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Now remember, this is no longer considered a card or like a card permanent in that fashion. It's simply a token. So on chapter 2, this will be able to copy itself. And you can see this would then go to chapter 3 and then be able to copy itself again, or that copy that it just created. Either one would be fine. They'll start over their sagas when they are created anew. They'll still be tokens, and then you're going to have an abundance of 3 blind mice, kind of like a Scoot Swarm type of effect almost. Perhaps not as exponential, but still sufficiently strong. So yep, and Ruby's here. She's already barking at 6 o'clock in the morning because she knows I'm putting out a sweet video. So hopefully this gets out there. You can check it out. And maybe I showed you the spicy side of Shiku today. Now, that's cool value. I mean, so we're doing token stuff. Very cool. Now let's get Brudiclad in here. Brudiclad is that card where it's going to create tokens, but then it's also going to allow you to choose a token that you have on the battlefield and then transform all the tokens that you have on the battlefield into that particular token. How I've seen Brudiclad use the best effect is with a card like a There and Back Again. So for instance, we can create Schmaug, a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying haste, and when this creature dies, create 14 treasure tokens. It's a legend, truly. So if you create, like for instance, we have a lot of 3 blind mice tokens. We can with Brudiclad we can turn them all into Schmaugs, and then we can make a lot of treasures because we can only have 1 Schmaug on the battlefield at once. Those other tokens will have to be sacrificed. And then, depending on how many tokens we have, we can create that many treasure tokens. For each 14 treasure tokens for each of those creatures. So that's the big juice. I hope you like that thing. First time I saw someone pull that off, I was like, how did you even comprehend this combo? It's crazy. Then they co-opt it just from this short sample size with the midnight clock, and I was like, this is incredible. Because then they're just having unlimited value, they can burn through their hand, they can sink into the midnight clock, get another full grip. I thought that was just beautiful stuff. I thought that was just amazing. It was wow. Additionally, you could do things like with the Cure Best of Sea God, because this creates an 8/8 Kraken token with hexproof. So you're just gonna be making a lot of Krakens. They won't legend rule themselves; they'll just be 8/8s. And with Brudiclad, they all have haste. So I think it's a very appropriate 6-drop for this deck. I do believe that is kind of your foray into Shiku is tokens, and haste. I think haste is also important for the tokens as well. In most circumstances, we might not always have Brudiclad, and you might want to get offensive or strong with a particular card selection we have, and the amount of tokens that are created. You might want to have an ability to have them have haste and a little bit stronger, a little bit of an anthem buff. Thought Rising of the Day was very appropriate. So let's get into the Wombo Bombo. So we'll just get into there real quick. So here's Wombo Bombo. I call this section Wombo Bombo because it's going to have multifaceted effects for us. This one simply will build our graveyard, which we want to do with Shiku, and provide haste, so it kind of has a double opportunity. Most of these cards have 2 or more kind of benefits in contribution to synergize with the deck. Burn the House could act as a wide mass removal spell. It could also create 1/1 tokens. So we do love that. Devil tokens. The Caretaker's Talent. This is going to be able to copy tokens that we have on that initial level 2. Create a copy of target token we have. In addition, each time a token resolves or enters the battlefield, once each turn we'll draw a card, and we have many ways to create tokens on our turn as well, and on our opponent's turn. So that's going to draw a lot of cards. There is a particular card that really does this very well. And I believe we'll kind of illustrate that for you as well. Oh, you know what it is? It's Spiteful Banditry. So for instance, if you had a Spiteful Banditry on the battlefield, which creates a treasure token once each turn for a creature dying, that would just passively enable this, which is we love that kind of just repeatable value where we don't really have to do anything, except our opponents are doing things, or maybe we are doing things to destroy things as well. But yeah, I think that's a really cool interaction. Amiria's Call could be a land or can create 4/4 flying tokens. Fantastic. Fabled Mirror Breaker is probably the card. It does all the things and more, right? It's going to create a token that's a shaman. When that attacks, it's going to create another token that's a treasure. It's going to build your graveyard on Chapter 2. And then for Chapter 3, you're going to be able to start copying your non-legendary creatures, and that will become a token. So overall, just probably the most massive card, I'd say, just because it just kind of makes sense. It just does all the things, and I'd say more that it should do, just the manner of tokens it does, and just producing more tokens of various types is just kind of amazing stuff. Cure, I thought, was another nice fit. Not a non-creature spell, but You do get that looting kind of capability where it does enter the battlefield. We can like have repeatable value for that as well, because it is an ETB. And whenever it attacks, you do create that 8/8 legendary octopus creature token, which is nice. It does create like a nice size token. And we can kind of get busy with that token in certain circumstances, and I'll kind of explain. There is ways that we can kind of get through the legendary rule if we have to. Here's March. I did put this in the Wombo bombo section. I have not explained Vesuvan duplimancy. If you're familiar with that card, it does like to see single target to be activated. This can do multiple targets as well, but I figured it could be a protection spell, which is nice. It could also just act as a single target phase out, and that would also trigger our Vesuvan duplimancy. So it does very, I'd say it does fit the Wombo bombo. Molten duplication, I just imagine like putting this on like a Maniform Hellkite, a non-legendary for instance, and really going nuts on a turn and kind of creating an abundance of tokens all at once, and really having putting the opponent to a hard test. It will not work as well on our legendaries, but if there's something that we do need to fish out of our graveyard, we can do this with the Molten Duplication. It won't be the worst Vesuvan duplimancy hit. It will give us something because it is a single target on one of our legendaries. That particular copy that it will create just from the card itself would fizzle, but the act of targeting this with Shiku with Vesuvan would create a non-legendary version of Shiku, so you would have two at once on the battlefield. So it's not the worst. I don't think it's the worst. Uvar, the all form edition, this thing will love us to have single target entrees onto our creatures with instants or sorceries. If we do create an additional copy of one of those permanents. So like I said, it's going to work most excellent on your non-legendary creatures for this particular thing with single target spells. Yep. Oh, actually is one or more permanents you control. Wow, that's really interesting. It doesn't have to be a single target. Well then. Well, March can go pretty nuts with that homie then. Orvar, we'll have to kind of get into that guy a little bit more. Seems good. Now, here's Ragavan. Now, this guy will get some gas off of our opponent's libraries and create treasure tokens when it connects, so we love that. And we did talk about Spiteful Banditry, just kind of like that perpetual creating tokens as long as creatures are dying on our opponent's turns. It will only trigger once each turn, but very cool. Can be a little bit of a board wipe there in the early stages, I suppose, or later, just depends. Wedding Announcement provides us that repeatable value for creating tokens, drawing cards, and then an anthem. So I hope you enjoyed. This is only 42 cents now. Works really well here. So those are our Wombo Bombo combos. A little bit of rampies here, just like the talismans, because they'll just hit you for life. They're just ready to go immediately. They can also be tapped for colorless, so we like that. We have the Soul Ring here, Arcane Signet, just like very generic ramp. I think we're going to love this ramp, though. It's going to make us really happy. Then we have our blinking. So we definitely want some sort of repeatable value to get into Shiku. This is like the generic blink. This is not the Vesuvan duplimancy blink. Vesuvan duplimancy is more like creating more Shikus, which is my way. I would like to do it like that. I'd like to have lots of Shikus on the battlefield, 4 or 5 flyers. One will still be considered a commander for commander damage. The others won't be doing the commander damage, but they'll just be 4 or 5 flyers, and we just like that, So, Displacer Kitten is that one where each time we cast a non-creature spell, we'll be able to, for instance, take one of our enter the battlefield creatures, have them do the exile and then return to the battlefield. So that can kind of get nasty, and that's casted. So there's a nice little kind of loop there with your Shiku. As long as you can keep having those non-creature spells 3 or less in your graveyard, you can kind of keep looping this with Shiku, getting lots of value because it is a cast trigger. Ephemerate will do like an additional, we'll do one type of blinking effect, and then upon the next upkeep, your next upkeep, it will do it again. Felia, just that nice repeatable little shepherd homie, and we just kind of love that it's just, there, and on curve, just ready to blink our Shiku and have it come in for twice and just continue to do that. Could be good to reset some of our sagas or enchantments as well. So we are a fan. Scroll Shift also just kind of gets into that 3-costed kind of territory as well. So, it does give you a card too, and it does target. So we don't hate that. We kind of love that, And for our Vesuvan duplimancy, it is a single target spell, so it does fit into our Vesuvan duplimancy vibes. Teleportation Circle is just going to be that other option where you're just going to get that repeatable blinking at your end of your end step. I thought about Thassa, but it was like a $25 card, and I don't have it, so I didn't want to put in a card that I didn't have. Let's get right to the Vesuvan duplimancy because we've been kind of teasing this a little bit. Then we'll swing around to token, and I think we'll be kind of wrapping it up. So here's your Ancestral Anger. These are just cards that are just going to have that single target criteria. It will target a single creature, and then it will draw. This one will provide a buff to how many you have in your graveyard, so it'll do one at a time. We won't have multiples of this, so it won't go past one. Additionally, there's your Vesuvan duplimancy, kind of the card that is just an ultimate token generator. We'll have this on the battlefield. We'll have another creature. We'll cast our Ancestral Anger on that creature, and then a token copy will be made of that creature. Legendary or not, it will not be considered legendary, so it won't legend rule itself. And that can get into some really, really nice stuff. I did even include 3 steps ahead, because if you did have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you wanted to do that 3 and 2, this would count as a single target for the spell. That draw 2 cards and discard a card is just a general draw ability. It doesn't target a specific opponent, so you'll just draw 2, discard a card. You'll still get that that targeting, and then you'll create a token that's a copy of a target. Similarly to the multiple duplication, if you target a legendary, one of those will still remain a legendary because the Vesuvan duplimancy only has that specific verbiage that targeted effect of that spell then immediately triggers a non-legendary token. The 3 steps ahead will again work best with the Vesuvan duplimancy in a non-legendary creature. You'll get that instance of targeting to create the token, and then the token itself will also be fine because it's non-legendary. So yeah, that's some sweet, sweet power. Yeah, you just want to do the thing right. You do the thing, you'll be good. These all are newer spells, like for instance, Might of the Meek is a newer one, mixed with some spells of old, such as like your Cerulean Wisps and your Crimson Wisps. Obviously, this one's a very famous one. It was definitely up there in price before they reprinted in Jumpstart. But it will target a creature. It will haste that creature, and then you'll draw. So there's a lot of value with these, and they just get better because they're just nice cantrips, and with a card like Vesuvan duplimancy, you're going to have a lot of fun. Zada is like that kind of lord of that, kind of action. If you create like a good board presence, you have Zada, and then, you're simply targeting Zada with like a Crimson Wisp, even without a Vesuvan duplimancy on the battlefield. This will target all the other creatures on the battlefield, and you'll draw a card for each of those instances. So that's nice, and they'll all have haste. So I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine. This is like a 20-cent card. Yeah. Been reprinted so many times. Here's some of our tokens. We got the new Corey Steelcutter. This thing I think went up $1 overnight. So I'm going to make sure I kind of cement myself before it goes a little too crazy. Yeah. And probably just, not try to risk it with the boosters. Just get the single. Because I do want to put this one out in paper form sooner than later. Goldspan, just for the token contribution, we will be making treasures, more tokens with a mana form Hellkite. Any time you cast a non-creature spell, this will create a XX Dragon Illusion, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast a spell. Monastery Mentor, just to create those continual tokens that have prowess. Strike at Rich is a nice little ability to have repeatable treasures. Has a flashback. There's your third path, Iconoclast. This loves to create creature tokens upon seeing non-creature spells. Doesn't have to be an instant or sorcery, any non-creature spell. So it is far superior than the Young Pyro, but Pyro gets the job done. Still, we'll create those creature tokens when we cast an instant or sorcery. Then we want to build our graveyard. And then we want repeatable casts. So Dreadhorde Arcanist is going to enable that. It's going to love our little mana cantrips. If it gets a little stronger from their cantrips too, or like some sort of prowess, effect, mass prowess effect, for instance with a Narset Enlightened Exile, then we are going to be in the money. And this card is going to just kind of repeatedly have value for us and continue that value as it attacks. Faithless Looting would be a great target for this, just to continually build our graveyard. Fear of missing out just for that one and done, but we can remember it's enter, so we can have a ways to kind of work this into our path too, and provide extra combats to a single creature once we reach Delirium. Founding the third path is just a nice little value orientated one. You can cast one of those 1s or 2s for free from your hand. On chapter 1, you can mill some cards. On chapter 2, you can always read ahead if you want to get busier than not with your graveyard for whatever reason, or roll the dice. And then on chapter 3, you're going to exile any target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast a copy. NT's going to love to see like discard of any form, and it can selectively discard when it attacks, and I'm really fond of this card just to like have that ability, that selection. Evora also just has that repeatable discard value, and it does create blood tokens. Yes. Mizzet's Mastery. I was just thinking about transmutable font. That artifact, I wonder if that kind of belongs, since we are creating a variety of tokens. Mizzet's Mastery. Yeah, that one's going to love to see the graveyard. It's going to let us cast the Mizzet's Mastery. It will set off prowess. Then when we bust out that insert sorcery in the graveyard, any one of them, that will also be casted. It sets off our prowess stuff. And for the Overlord, you can cast you can select all the instants and sorceries if you prefer, or whichever ones you like, and overload it and cast those all at once for 8. Here's Narset, and god dang, this thing went up to $8. I'd say this thing just works really well with a Dreadhorde Arcanist. It's going to buff up all our creatures, all our other tokens. They're going to all have prowess, and depending on the power of this, when it swings, we can select a non-creature spell in any graveyard and cast it for as long as it equals its power or less of Narset, and that will be casted as well. So we'll set off prowess again. Pinnacle Monk, that will let us get into our graveyard as well, so we do enjoy that very much. And yeah, just give us more value. Enter the battlefield kind of esque, enters the battlefield, trigger, return target instant or sorcery from our graveyard to our hand. Lots of selection. Prismatic Command is probably one of our most important cards. The fact that this can accelerate you, this could, for instance, put like a 3 blind mice into your graveyard and create a treasure to accelerate you faster to Shiku, is extraordinary. So this is a top tier card. $1.63, not bad. Snappy, just to like kind of get back into that graveyard, give us a little flashback. A little flashy, little enter the battlefields action. Deck looks nice tight. If we have a good graveyard, Treasure Cruise seems pretty decent, so we're going to give that a shot. We're not going to play like Ox, Veganis. I don't know if we're building a graveyard like that much, but we do have some incidental ramp, so I'm not too scared about it. We have some sweet 3-mana tutors. Shiku's just going to love to like regurgitate these, isn't it? Just going to love to see you cast it on an earlier turn, and then when Shiku enters, to do it all over. This will be cards that put the insert sorceries right in your hand for solve. Tutor up anything you want. Ideal tutor similarity, any enchantment. You can get that 3 blind mice, the Vesuvan duplimancy, your Fable. Just put it right in your hand. You'll be all set. And then your gamble. Okay, so this one is just like your RNG gods. It also builds a graveyard to an extent in a random manner. But yeah, let's just put a card in our hand and see what happens. From anywhere. And we went over duplimancy. We have a little bit of a removal kind of suite here. Just kind of your usual suspects. Nothing too too crazy to see here. I do think that like the March is like very appropriate for our particular deck. I don't know if I want to run like the other kind of like shore ups, or those single ones that don't provide a little bit of value. I'd rather things be a little bit harder. Hard counters, offer you can't refuse really fits that kind of some instances you might even like counter your own stuff, which would be kind of strange, but it is possible. I've seen that happen before. We don't have any like zero drops like Mishra's Bauble or anything, but yeah, typically you just use this on your opponent's stuff. Give them 2 treasures, not a big deal. We have Psycho Rift in there for some mass deportation of things. Mana Drain was just like your nice counter spell there. Just a beautiful one. And yeah, you can do some funny things with Shiku, because these are at instant speed, like your Ephemerates. So, and if you have, for instance, like a Displacer Kitten, you might, get into like an additional mana drain. I could foresee like your Deflecting Swats having a lot of value here. Those kind of like, if you control your commander or cast this for free type of spells. Yeah, I just kind of assume that those would be pretty decent here as well. But yep, this is the suite that we kind of landed on, and we'll try this out. I don't think I'll be too unhappy about these spells. And you got some staples in here. You got like a land that kind of has a little removal. So overall, I am very happy how the deck turned out. We do have, I believe, about 38 lands total, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps even 36. So let's just kind of switch disable the tags. So this is tag enabled, so you can kind of view it as, yeah, we do have the 36 lands here. I'm not too sad about that. I feel it's kind of appropriate. We have like a lot of single mana spells, so it kind of just makes sense. And have a decent amount of like kind of cards that will kind of sift through our deck as well. If we are having any sort of mana issues, we'll be fine. So the moment of truth. Alright, so we have like a little bit of a Ragron Charm here. And I kind of like this one, so we'll take a look at it. So we would draw for turn. It's loading. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, so let's pump this up a little bit here. Maybe one more notch down. Alright. Cool. We're ready to draw. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we draw for turn. We go right into our Ragran Triumph here. Some interesting choices. We do have a nice little kind of gamble action here, which kind of seems fun with the founding of the third path. That was our first draw, the Story Steel Cutter. And then, yeah, you can see the Treasure Cruise kind of looks nice here. Yeah, we'll go right here first with the founding. We won't be able to like kind of demonstrate the RNG for this, but we could assume that we're going to go find, for instance, like, is it crazy just to like look for a land here? I don't think so. Just like continue your curve and kind of continue this. Is there anything like really exceptional that's like 2 mana off the top of my head that would really make us kind of go crazy? I couldn't really think of it. So we probably just like look for a particular land. Hopefully we can stick that land. And for whatever reason, whatever would happen, we would go into our draw. And it looks like we would have gotten there anyways, in most circumstances. So we're kind of just sliding by here. It looks like I kind of want to, we can also mill 4 cards on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, so we can see it a little bit better. This was a land. We were considering this as a land, so we'll just imagine if that did stick, we would also lose access to one of these particular cards. So, for instance, we lost a treasure cruise randomly. That'd be kind of sad, that, because we're building our graveyard, but stuff happens like that. So we'll just go ahead and put that treasure cruise there. And if we did stick the land, that would have been fine probably too. So, yeah, because we could still go into this, right? We could still, play the treasure cruise out if that was the case. Okay, so we milled the 4 cards. We still have access to this turn 3 play here. And do we want to get the cutter down? Next turn we have 4 mana available. I don't think so. I think you probably go right into the wedding announcement, to be honest. And we can also kind of consider where we're going to get going with our 3 mana spells here as well. Like, which one are we going to bring back? Looks like it's going to be that talisman, a little bit of ramp. That's what it looks like. So if we go, for instance, wedding announcement on this turn, we'll start creating the tokens. That'd be kind of interesting. Draw. Gamble's a land, as we said. If that is the way it worked out, we can imagine that it did. We're very close to Shiku now. We have another land for turn coming up. And now we can exile a target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. We can copy it. We have Cerulean Wisp available. This Treasure Cruise is available. We probably wouldn't want to utilize the Treasure Cruise because it would kind of exhaust our stuff here. For instance, we could, if we did cast a Treasure Cruise, we could delve 3 because we'd want to keep one of these, right? 1, 2, 3. I could draw 3 cards. That wouldn't be the worst value for our turn. Otherwise, we'd probably be getting out. You may cast a copy. Now, I'm kind of curious about the found into the third path. Yeah, I think you probably have to do it then and there. Because if we had, for instance, the story, the Corey Steelcutter, we could get that trigger going. I believe we could. Well, perhaps not. Yeah, it's not like we can play this thing at instant speed. And I don't think this just kind of sits there idly. You have to do it all in one motion. Still, it looks like to be our best plays to get the cutter down, or to copy either, it looks like the Cerulean Wisp, target one of our tokens with it, pay a blue for that, and draw. So it's a land. So kind of a sad turn, to be honest. We would actually have, I think, Gamble in the bin too, actually. Now that I think about it, we could redo a Gamble and maybe find something a little better. Yeah, I wonder what we would Gamble. Perhaps, we're definitely starting to make our tokens. I wonder if I wonder if we can turn get a Brudiclad and have make kind of an abundance of treasures. We'd have these tokens, and then we'd have these tokens, and maybe we could create an army of prowess monks. That would probably be an interesting kind of line we could take. So that was kind of an interesting one. We definitely built our graveyard. There was definitely a graveyard kind of building there. And that's exactly what we want to see. It's not like we had 3 blind mice, for instance, as your really big Wombo bombo combo. But it wasn't too bad either. What is this? The massive ad. It'd be pretty greedy to like kind of do this, but that's a turn 2 wedding announcement. It's not that greedy, is it? It's looking a little more greedy. Oh no. See, this is why we do this thing. This is why we do this. How's Burn Down looking? It's okay. It does hit all our stuff. I don't know. I was just thinking, man, I was just going to go through these cards and like... How is Burn Down looking? It's okay, right? Let's create the tokens. I just was like, maybe if I could find like another land here for something. Something that just like would catch my eye. All this looks really nice. Yeah, I think it's important to like include some sort of removal in your decks. You know, kind of. I think it's just a good insurance policy in case someone's going kind of crazy. This looks nice. I just like the idea of just having a Vor kind of fueling the graveyard for our homie Shiku. You can do a little surveillage here. Strike it Rich would probably keep that up. Just a little bit of ramp. Multum duplication. Oh, interesting. I mean, you can get like the instant gratification with a bitter reunion right now. Or we can put a target on the battlefield. Like a Vora that can start, you know, creating more blood tokens and grow. It's probably like your way. It's probably the way. Avora could just like basically slap this thing in the graveyard for our guy. We could, you know, bid a reunion as well to get a little more looks at it as well. Yeah, we don't even have to, you know, bid this yet. We can go to like, for instance, strike it rich. We can bid a reunion. This is going to, we can discard this immediately. And then we can go ahead and draw to Avora would get procced. Ooh, idyllic tutor. That can find our like 3 blind mice too. And that also goes very well with our treasure synergy that we just created. A treasure with Strike It Rich. So the question is, to go into Shiku now or set up a little bit. It's probably best just to get into Shiku, I think. I do think so. Having the treasure kind of available is also interesting with the gold span. Because it kind of just, if you don't use it, you get more value out of it later. And then like a molten duplication on a gold span dragon seems pretty cool as well for a turn. We're definitely going to be looking for that Vesuvan duplimancy though with the tutor. For this particular instance, I kind of love like Orvar and Displacerkin together too. Like for instance, if we go Orvar without spending the treasure, we get lucky and draw land. We could go gold span on the next turn. If we go gold span on the next turn, and we still have this treasure available, that'll be 2 treasure available. You can molten duplicate onto your gold span. You create a token that's a copy of the gold span. Then molten duplication would that act of targeting would create another treasure with gold span. Then you would create another gold span with molten duplication. And then you'd be swinging out. You'd be making 3 treasures. And then we could go... I think you'd probably go right into Shiku, wouldn't you? Shiku could then target your gold span again and make another copy of gold span. You'd have 4 copies of gold span. A couple of them would be tokens. That'd be incredible. Your opponents would have to do something very serious about that. I wonder what Idyllic Tutor now finds, because we don't have any specific targeting spells at this moment, because we used it in our molten duplication. Perhaps a Brudiclad would work well, because then we could create... What would we create tokens of? Oh yeah, we could turn our treasures into Goldspan Dragons, because they're tokens. But how do we find a Brudiclad with a Idyllic Tutor, Blake? So that's kind of like the fun stuff here. Say for instance, we did find that Idyllic Tutor. Well, their Brudiclad was coming up. Of course it was. We had some targeting spells coming up as well. So it'd probably be in our interest to find another enchantment. Which one we would find though? Let's see. We'll have to go back to our non-tags. Oops. And we have quite a few. I mean, yeah, we could get some gas with the Caretaker's Talent with the Idyllic Tutor. Frontline Heroism doesn't seem good because we didn't have any specific targeting spells. We would have a lot of blinking going on, though, with the Displacer Kitten. Oh, we could find it there and back again? That's kind of interesting. It's a little slower. Teleportation Circle would have definitely been a nice choice to kind of repeat that value over and over again with Shiku. That would have been a nice target for the Idyllic Tutor. So yeah, we had lots of options there. All of them look pretty swell. Founding the third path could have been pretty nice too, because we could have just regurgitated the Molten Impact. Got our mill gas going. We could have regurgitated it. But I think the talent looked pretty good there, or the teleportation circle. So let me know what you guys would think. This one probably has the most upside for cards. But this is just also just really valuable. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little spiel on Shiku. Hopefully this one gets out there, and if you like and share with your friends, it definitely will. So thanks for joining me today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.